Discover the untold journey of a determined father, fighting for his daughter's dreams against all odds. Jake stood in his cluttered garage, grease-stained hands gripping the wrench, his heart deep in the work, a labor of love to keep the steady rhythm of their lives intact. He bounced between cars, his mind racing with thoughts of his bright-eyed daughter, Mia, and her dreams of capturing the world with her camera. The weight of the bills hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the dwindling jobs in their small Midwestern town. But Jake would do anything for Mia. Every challenge became an opportunity, every late night, a testament to the love he poured into her upbringing. "Keep your chin up, sweetheart," he often told her, "hard work pays off." Mia's laughter echoed in the garage as she showed him her latest snaps, bits of light and color that danced across her eyes. Just the simple joy of sharing her passion took the edge off Jake's worries. But life took an emotional twist when Mia won the local photography contest, a proud moment that crackled with excitement. Jake felt his heart swell. But the crushing blow came shortly after, when Mia was rejected from a prestigious art program. The reason was painfully clear: their financial status had barred her from stepping through doors that should have been open wide. Jake's chest tightened, the sorrow seeping into his veins like a poison. As the silent tension mounted, our world shifted. Jake found himself face to face with Alex, the affluent son of the town's wealthiest family. In that moment, privilege illuminated the path of dreams that Mia was denied. Jake clenched his fists, ignited with indignation. This was his fight now, a battle not just for his daughter, but for justice and equality in their community. Determined, he rallied neighbors at the local diner, voices rising with the urgency of their shared struggle. "What does it take to earn a chance at success?" echoed through the room, grappling with notions of fairness. Heated discussions turned passionate debates, and finally, Jake found his voice. "We work hard. And our kids deserve every opportunity just like anyone else. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Feelings spilled into the open, voices rising like thunder. Jake's heart raced. Among the crowd, there was a woman with tears in her eyes, her son's dreams dimmed by poverty. A man, who had once held a comfortable job, now stood jobless, yearning to find a way back to his pride. Each story laid bare the cracks in their tight-knit fabric. Distrust bubbled, long-held grievances surfaced, and through it all, Jake felt the change sparking within them, a realization that their fight transcended individual families. As the meeting reached an emotional crescendo, a shift occurred. Just when it felt like resolution would be found, a shocking revelation threatened to tear it all apart. Someone in the crowd had connections with the art world, connections that could either mend or shatter dreams. Jake stood at a crossroads, the heat of anger in his chest battling with a palpable fear. Would he continue to fight for Mia's dreams, or would he allow the circumstances to dim their light once and for all? The morning air felt heavier than usual as Jake stepped outside, his thoughts still racing from last night's meeting. It was a mix of uncertainty and determination swirling inside him. The sun lingered low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the neighborhood where everything seemed unchanged yet somehow felt different. He walked towards the diner, where whispers of the previous night's revelations buzzed among the townsfolk. Each face he passed held stories of struggle and resilience. Now, more than ever, it felt like they were a woven tapestry of lives intertwined by shared dreams and collective heartaches. The diner smelled of fresh coffee and fried food, but Jake's stomach churned. It was time to channel his fear into something actionable. Inside, a small crowd had already gathered. He spotted Mia at a corner table, flipping through her sketchbook, lost in a world of shadows and light. Her presence grounded him, igniting a spark of hope. He moved closer, watching her outlines take form, each stroke a testament to her undying passion. "Mia," he said gently, pulling up a chair beside her. "I need to talk to you about the meeting last night." She looked up, curious and slightly apprehensive. "What happened, Dad?" "We're going to fight for your dreams, honey. We're not just going to sit back and let them take your future away." Her eyes widened with a blend of excitement and caution. "But how? What can we do?" Jake felt a wave of passion wash over him. "We're going to organize. We'll rally our community, reach out to those connections I heard about. If that guy knows people in the art world, maybe he can help us. Maybe he can help you. Do you really think it could work?" she asked, a hint of hope dancing in her voice. "It has to work. You deserve this chance, Mia. You deserve to chase your dreams." A slow smile crept across her face, and it melted the worries chained around his heart. The sight of her excitement made him feel lighter, more capable. They would speak together, lift each other's spirits. Their fight was in the making, and it felt like the tides were starting to turn in their favor. As the diner filled with familiar faces, neighbors who were ready to stand beside them, Jake felt that collective strength. He took a deep breath, feeling the knot of uncertainty loosening within him. "All right, everybody," he called out, standing on a chair to capture everyone's attention. "We have an opportunity to support our kids. And I have an idea." The crowd quieted, each person leaning in. Just as Jake began to sketch out a plan, fundraising for scholarships, reaching out to local businesses, leveraging social media, a loud crash from the back of the diner shattered the moment. Jake turned, both heart racing and breath catching in his throat. A tussle between two men was unfolding, voices raised in anger. Fear gripped him, wondering if this was a distraction or a reflection of the frustrations boiling beneath the surface of their community. In that moment, Jake had a choice to make: dive into the chaos, or stay the course for Mia. As he descended from the chair, a new realization struck him. The fight was not just for Mia's dreams, but for the heart of their whole community. Would he be able to rally them together in the face of discord? Would their voices ring louder than the clamor? The future felt uncertain, but one thing was clear: the next step would require courage, and Jake was ready to find out just how far they could push against the tide. Would he be able to turn this around before the anger of one man disrupted the hope of many? Jake's pulse raced as he took in the chaotic scene unfolding in the diner. The two men, fists flying, were already drawing attention and whispers from those seated nearby. It felt like a wave crashing against the shore, ready to pull everything under if he didn't act fast. "Hey! Stop it!" Jake's voice rang out, rough with urgency. He pushed through the crowd, thoughts of Mia and their plan momentarily shoved aside by adrenaline. Folks turned to him, a mixture of fear and curiosity in their eyes, as if they were waiting for someone to take control. One of the fighters, a burly man with a scraggly beard, stumbled backward, catching his breath. The other, younger and visibly shaken, stood defiant, fists clenched tight at his sides. Jake sensed the tension thick in the air. He had to intervene, not just for peace, but to remind them all that they were a community bound by shared struggles. "Let us talk this out," Jake pleaded, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "This isn't helping anyone." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and he could see Mia watching, wide-eyed and anxious. Her belief in him felt like a weight on his shoulders, both a blessing and a burden. The burly man glanced over at Jake, confusion mingling with anger. "You don't know what he said. This isn't just about you." "Then help me understand," Jake urged. "What did he say? Let us sort this out like grown men, not through fists." Silence fell as the aggressor hesitated, uncertainty creeping into his expression. The younger man lowered his fists, his eyes darting from Jake to the man towering over him, processing the sudden shift. An older gentleman from the back, always a peacekeeper in town, chimed in, "Everyone, let us not forget what we're all facing here. We're better together." His words rang with wisdom, echoing through the diner. Jake could see the tension start to dissipate, if only a little. Exactly. We're here to support our kids, to fight for something greater. So let us work together instead of fighting, he continued, his voice growing stronger and more confident. Mia leaned forward on the table, hope blooming in her eyes. Seeing her enthusiasm rekindled Jake's own determination. For her, for the community, he needed to push through the noise. The burly man released a heavy breath, backing away. Maybe you're right, maybe I got carried away, he admitted, still glaring at the younger man. In that moment of vulnerability, Jake seized the opportunity. Let us talk about what's really bothering us. Let us bring that energy into something positive. We need to build up our youth, not tear them down. Gradually, the crowd began to nod, murmurs shifting from tension to resonance with Jake's words. Encouragement sparked within him as he realized how crucial this was, not just the fight for Mia's dreams, but a movement for unity. The younger man offered a tentative hand, and the burly man accepted it after a long pause. The diner erupted in cheers, a sound blended with relief and tentative hope. They were coming together, and it felt electric. Jake stepped back and looked at Mia. Her smile illuminated the room, and in that moment, he knew they were gaining ground. They were starting to harness their strength, but as the applause started to settle, Jake noticed a familiar figure slipping through the door, wearing a town badge, the mayor. His presence stirred unease among the townsfolk, a shadow lingering over their newfound camaraderie. Jake's heart raced again, this time with apprehension. What would the mayor's arrival mean for their fight? Would he stand in the way of their momentum? As the mayor stepped forward, clearing his throat to speak, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that new challenges lay ahead. The mayor's voice cut through the charged atmosphere like a knife. Thank you, everyone, for your passion. He paused, looking over the crowd, his eyes narrowing as he spotted Jake. But we need to stay united. With all due respect, Jake, we can't let emotions take control. Jake's stomach tightened. Was this going to be a speech about discipline? Restrictions? The diner, buzzing with newfound energy, seemed to hold its breath alongside him. While I applaud the spirit of camaraderie here today, we face real challenges. Our town is in a crisis. The mayor's tone grew serious, perhaps a bit patronizing. Money is tight, and your displays of anger only paint a bigger target on us. Jake felt a chill run through him. The community had just united, and here was the mayor trying to douse the fire of hope with a bucket of cold water. Anger bubbled within him, but this wasn't about outperforming the mayor. It was about the people, the families, the kids who needed them to stand strong. Mr. Mayor, Jake interjected, keeping his voice steady, what we need is for our leaders to inspire us, not command us with fear of failure. We want to work together. Let us focus on solutions. A few heads nodded in agreement. Mia's eyes sparkled, urging him on privately, and Jake took a deep breath. He could feel his determination swell. They had just started to unify. The mayor's brows furrowed. And what do you suggest? Well, Jake began, the idea sprouting rapidly, we could organize community events, fundraisers. Something that showcases our talents and brings the town together. Painting, music, even cook-offs where the proceeds support our youth programs. We can shift this energy towards something potently positive. The diner buzzed again, now in lively conversation about Jake's idea. The tension crackled in a completely different way, transforming from potential conflict to vibrant possibility. The mayor looked momentarily stunned. He hadn't expected the community to react so warmly. We have artists, musicians, cooks who can unite us. Jake pressed on, warming up. What if we challenge ourselves to establish something meaningful? Let us foster hope rather than fear. The idea took root, excitement bolstering through the crowd. It was infectious, kids were talking excitedly, asking questions, and before long, a few folks started volunteering to help organize the first event. Mia caught Jake's eye, a radiant smile on her face, buoying his spirit even higher, but then there was an abrupt interruption. A voice rang out from the back of the diner, "But what if it's not enough?" It came from a seat, deep in the shadows, belonging to one of the town's oldest residents, a woman who had seen too much in her lifetime. The room quieted again, a stark contrast to the hopeful buzz just moments before. Jake could feel the weight of her words pressing down on everyone. He knew this wasn't just about entertainment. There were deeper concerns, a fracture in their community that ran like an unhealed wound. Something they had all felt but had not yet voiced. As he looked at Mia, her eyes filled with anticipation and fear, he realized they had to be ready for those conversations. They had to address the grit alongside the dreams. "Let us not just hope for change," he said finally, his voice cutting through the silence. "Let us ask the real questions and tackle the challenging answers together." The tension in the room shifted. This could be the start of something greater, or it could lead them down a darker path. The mayor shifted uncomfortably, his stance wavering as he absorbed the reactions around him. But he watched as some faces continued to light up, while others returned to uncertainty, and Jake knew a pivotal moment was building. Would they band together and face their challenges openly, or were they about to retreat into their corners again? As the mayor prepared to respond, Jake braced himself, feeling the looming question hang in the air: what did the town truly want? And more importantly, what were they willing to fight for? "You think it's not enough?" The question hung heavy in the air. The voice of the old woman threaded through the thickening silence, her frail silhouette accentuated by the diner's harsh lighting. Jake turned toward her, searching her face for a hint of support or doubt. After a moment, the mayor nodded slowly. "It's a fair point. We can't ignore our struggles. People have lost jobs, families are divided." There's fear mixed with hope, and he let out a sigh, his gaze moving over the crowd again. "Organizing fundraisers won't bring back the lost assurance." The vibrations of discontent rippled through the room. A murmur of agreement rose from a few corners, while others leaned forward, eager for solutions. Jake's heart raced. Was the mayor right? Was it naive to think a few events could patch over deep-rooted fears? "Mr. Mayor," Jake pressed, shaking off the doubt creeping in, "what if we don't just raise money? What if we create a space for everyone to share their stories? Let us make it a town-wide forum, a place where voices can be heard, where we address what needs fixing in our community together." At this, the crowd paused, a ripple of consideration sweeping through. Mia, standing beside him, whispered, "That could create real dialogue." Her eyes shone with hope, igniting something in him. The mayor raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "You think people are ready for that?" "Sometimes they don't know they're ready until the opportunity presents itself," Jake replied, feeling more confident now. "We can do it gently. Story nights, open mics, bring everyone in. Let them express their fears, their dreams. Together." He could see the gears working in the mayor's mind. Jake felt the power of the community gathering behind him, voices murmuring in agreement, heads nodding softly. From the back of the diner, a younger man shouted, "If we don't talk, we'll never learn." There's anger, sure, but there's also love. Love for this town. The momentum shifted again. Summer nights with tunes dancing in the air, artists painting murals on once bare walls, laughter from children playing, all of it was more than just dreams. It was potential. The old woman finally spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "It's the sharing that heals. I've seen this town fall apart too many times. If you want change, you must believe in each other. It's what kept us going." Jake met her gaze, feeling the weight of her years wash over him, and he understood. This wasn't just a town, it was a family poised on the edge of a transformative moment, a moment that could lead to more than just events, but genuine healing. The mayor looked back at Jake, a sense of challenge in his eyes. "If you want the town to come together, what are you willing to commit to? The planning, the organization, leading this charge?" Jake's heart pounded, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew it was about more than just one person stepping up. I'll gather a team, he promised. Anyone who believes in this can help. But I can't do it alone. A pause fell over the diner, a moment where eyes scanned the room and hearts assessed the possibility unfolding. Mia squeezed his arm, her excitement palpable, and several hands began to rise, volunteers emerging from the shadows. The air thickened with hope, as people began to talk amongst themselves, their fears slowly transforming into conversations of action. But just as hope began to swell more than fear, a loud crash echoed outside the diner, a sound that snapped everyone back to the harsh reality waiting beyond the walls. Jake's stomach dropped. What had happened now? He turned his gaze toward the diner's front window, instincts telling him they might be facing something far more demanding than what was quietly brewing inside. Let us keep the momentum going, he said, voice steady but with an edge of apprehension. But first, let us see what that was. As he stepped toward the door, he felt the collective breath of the crowd behind him, a mix of fear and determination, and Jake knew in that instant that whatever lay ahead would test them all. Would their newfound unity be enough to face whatever was brewing outside? The moment Jake stepped outside, a cacophony of chaos struck his ears. The diner's warm light faded into the night as he blinked against the sudden darkness punctuated by flickering streetlights. His heart raced as he took in the scene. A small group of townsfolk had gathered, their faces painted with shock and confusion. Is everyone okay? He called out, pushing through the crowd forming around a toppled dumpster and shattered glass. No one replied at first. Instead, the air thickened with whispers and nervous shuffling, eyes darting to one another, searching for some semblance of understanding. Finally, an older man named Frank, usually a steady voice in town meetings, stepped forward. It's a wildcat protest, Jake. A few kids got in over their heads, tossing stuff around. Jake's stomach dropped further. It was bad enough that fear was already roiling within the community. He never imagined it would erupt violently. He could see the youth at the center, a couple of teenagers, faces flushed, wide eyes filled with a mixture of anger and desperation. Let them go, shouted one of the boys, his hands shaking as he faced the onlookers. We're just tired of the way this town is headed. You say you want to hear us? Let us talk then. His voice cracked with emotion, resonating in Jake's chest. There it was, the raw energy, the need to be heard that he sensed earlier inside the diner. This wasn't just an outburst, it was a cry for help. Okay, Jake interrupted, taking a step forward to calm the crowd. Everyone, let us breathe. We can handle this. We need to talk, all of us. His intention was to defuse the situation, but he could already feel the riptide of unrest start to swirl again. Mia caught up to him, her face shadowed with concern. You don't know what they might do, Jake. What if it escalates? He turned to her, seeing the worry etched on her features. It's escalating already. But if we don't reach out, it'll get worse. I need your help. Let us invite them for that discussion we talked about. A brief flicker of fear crossed Mia's face, but it quickly transformed into determination. Okay. Let us do it. Just as they agreed, a loud shout pierced the air. You don't care about us. You're just old folks who don't get it. The teenagers were becoming more agitated, their words raw and unfiltered. Jake raised his hands in a calming gesture. Listen. We all want this town to be better. Let us share this space together, not battle each other. He stepped right into the chaos, his voice steady but filled with urgency. If you want to talk, if you want to be heard, then let us do it. I'll organize a forum this week. It's time we face these issues together, youth, adults, everyone. The teenagers exchanged glances, the slightest hint of uncertainty appearing. Frank took a deep breath beside Jake, leaning in. You think they'll buy that? They don't need to buy anything, they need to trust that we'll listen, Jake replied, conviction flooding his voice. Trust runs both ways. The crowd simmered, some nodding, others still simmering with anger. It would be a long battle to rebuild trust, but Jake felt a glimmer of hope flickering amidst the turmoil. Just then, the mayor appeared at the edge of the crowd, brow furrowed. He stepped forward, and a wave of silence washed over the gathering. If Jake was going to get a fair chance to create change, he needed the mayor on board. "Let us hear what they have to say," the mayor said, his tone authoritative yet calm. "If we're going to fix this community, we need all voices in the room." Jake looked at Mia, a mix of hope and uncertainty in his eyes. It felt like a pivotal moment, one that would set the tone for how the town would either fracture or unite moving forward, but as the mayor's words settled in, another crash echoed in the distance. It was closer now, more menacing, and Jake felt the air thicken with fear once again. "What on earth?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling. Jake's heart dropped as a realization struck him. This wasn't just about lifting each other up anymore. They were standing on the edge of something bigger. Would they join forces to face the growing uproar, or would it break them apart for good? The world was watching them, and the time for change was now. Before he could think twice, Jake called out again, his voice rising above the mounting noise, "We need to act. Who's with me?" His own heart raced as he awaited the answer from the crowd. Could they turn fear into solidarity, or would they be swept away by the tumult outside? As the final echo of his voice faded, Jake's eyes swept over the crowd, searching for a glimmer of solidarity. Tension hung in the air, each second dragging on, stretching the silence thin. Just when Jake thought the moment might slip away, the first hand shot up. It was one of the teenagers, the boy who had been so vocal before. His eyes, once blazing with anger, now reflected a flicker of determination. "I'll go," he shouted, stepping forward. "I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, followed by another young woman. "Me too. We need to change things. We can't keep standing by." Jake felt a rush of relief wash over him, but he knew they were on a precarious edge. He glanced at Mia, who was nodding, her fear shifting to hope. "See? They want to talk," he encouraged, emboldened by their reactions. Encouraged, he took a step closer to the teenagers. "Then let us do this together. Let us come up with ideas, solutions that everyone can support. This is about all of us. What do you want to change?" The boy who had first spoken paused, taking a deep breath. "Everything feels like it's falling apart. We have no jobs, and there's nothing to do in this town. We want opportunities, not just empty promises." Jake felt the weight of those words, resonating with every scar the town had endured. "And we'll get there, I promise," he said, striving to maintain his voice steady. "Let us bring your ideas to the table. We can gather support and find a way forward." As he spoke, he noticed more heads nodding, some older townsfolk as well. The atmosphere had shifted slightly. Voices that had been raised in anger were now beginning to crystallize into something that resembled collaboration. Jake knew it wasn't enough yet, but there was momentum. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupted from the back of the crowd. A few figures emerged, their faces distorted by anger, chanting slogans that seemed to fuel the fire in the air. "We don't want to hear from you. Just leave." The energy of the protest shifted like a tide, threatening to pull the whole crowd back under the weight of unrest. "Stay focused," Jake shouted over the escalating noise. "This isn't the answer. We need each other, not more division." The mayor stepped up beside him, his presence commanding. "Now is the time to show the town that we can unite despite our differences. We must not let fear take control of who we are meant to be." With that call to unity, the crowd wavered. It was as if the memories of their shared history tethered them back from the brink of chaos. The teenagers who had stepped forward carefully glanced at each other, their conviction visibly deepening. "All right then," the boy said, resolved. "Let us meet tomorrow after school. We'll put together a list of what we want and how to go about it. And we can't forget to invite everyone else to join in." It's time we all let our voices be heard. Excitement mingled with anxiety as the proposal resonated through the crowd. But just as hope began to blossom, a loud crash erupted from the far end of the street. More glass shattered, followed by frantic shouts that sliced through the air like a knife. What now? Mia gasped, clutching Jake's arm tightly. Jake felt his heart hammering again. They had barely scratched the surface of dialogue, and now the storm was brewing stronger than ever. But he knew one thing for certain. They couldn't let fear dictate their future. Follow me. Jake yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. We face this together. As he took a step forward, he felt a surge of resolve. But in the waiting storm, he wondered if they could really stand up against the growing tide of unrest, or if they would falter when it truly mattered. Would the town's voices unite, or would they drown in the chaos surrounding them? Jake sprinted toward the source of the shattering glass, his heart pounding in his chest. As he pushed through the throng, he could feel Mia's grip loosen slightly, but he didn't turn back to check on her. His focus was on the chaos ahead. With each step, the rising tumult seemed to resonate through the air, prickling on his skin. The crowd split as people rushed to see what had happened. His mind raced, imagining the worst vandalism, violence, all the fears that had lurked in the shadows of this protest roaring to life. Finally, he reached the front of the crowd, and the sight before him made his stomach drop. A couple of older men were throwing debris from a nearby storefront, their faces twisted with anger. They don't listen. One of them shouted, launching another stone towards the ground. They'll never listen. Stop. Jake shouted, his voice trembling but firm. You're only making things worse. This isn't how we get what we want. The men turned, their expressions a mix of frustration and surprise. What do you know about it? One snapped back, eyes wild. You're just a kid. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every gaze on him. I know that destruction won't bring us together. We need to show them we're serious, not violent. He stepped further into the fray. We need to talk, not fight. Mia finally caught up, placing her hand on Jake's shoulder. Her eyes were wide, but they sparkled with resolve. Jake's right. We need dialogue, not rage. Look around, this is our chance to be heard. The argument shifted as onlookers turned their attention to the teenagers bravely standing at the front. Jake saw a glimmer of recognition in some faces, the realization that perhaps anger wasn't the answer. Look, we've all lost something, he continued, his voice rising above the cheers and the chants. Let's channel that into something constructive. What do you want to change? What do you really care about? The older men hesitated, glancing at each other, uncertainty flickering across their faces. It was a brief moment of vulnerability, and Jake could feel something shift in the air like the first light of dawn breaking through a long dark night. What do we have to lose? One of them finally spoke, lowering his hands. We're tired of being ignored. But what do you suggest we do? Jake's heart leaped at the opening. Let us gather tonight. Bring your ideas. Let us figure it out together. We won't get it right in one go, but we can find a way forward. Mia nodded, her determination wrapping around Jake's words like a comfort. Yeah. Everyone can contribute. We can have a real plan that voices what we all want. The crowd began to murmur softly, an undercurrent of hope mingling with the remnants of anger. We could try, someone whispered. It spread through the group like lightning, igniting sparks of inspiration. Jake noticed the teenagers, now energized. They shared smiles, their spirits bolstered. They were no longer just bystanders, they were part of something bigger. But amidst that flicker of hope, a voice pierced through. And who's going to listen to a bunch of kids? It came from the back, thick with skepticism. Jake turned slowly, feeling the weight of that question pressing down on him. What do if they don't listen? Mia whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. Jake took a deep breath. We have to fight harder, not with fists, but with our voices. As he stepped forward, the noise of uncertainty swallowed him again. Did they truly have the courage to carry this burden? Would the town embrace this fragile spark of hope, or would they extinguish it before it even had a chance to grow? And just then, another crash echoed in the distance, a grim reminder that the fight for their future was only just beginning. Jake's heart raced as the crash echoed again, reverberating like a drum signaling an impending storm. The crowd shifted around him, uncertainty lacing their murmurs. Mia squeezed his shoulder, grounding him for just a moment. He glanced at her, needing her strength. "Do you think they heard us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Fear tugged at the corners of her smile. "We'll show them we can be heard," Jake replied, his resolve deepening. "But first, we need to bring everyone together." Jake turned back to the men, seeing their frustration still flickering. "Listen. We need to channel this anger into something that matters. Tonight, we meet. Tonight, we discuss. If we don't speak up, nothing changes. If you care about our town, you'll trust us with your voices." A murmur ran through the crowd, rising and falling like waves. Some nodded, others looked on warily. But Jake felt a connection form, a bond sparked by shared pain and a collective wish for change. "Let us talk about what matters to us," Mia added, her voice ringing with clarity. "Your stories matter. And maybe, just maybe, our youth can lead the way forward." The older men exchanged glances, and for a moment, Jake saw them hesitating, weighing the struggles they faced against the glimmers of hope he and Mia were offering. Slowly, one of them took a step forward. His brow furrowed, but there was a spark of curiosity in his eyes. "Okay, we'll listen. We'll meet tonight." Relief washed over Jake, but apprehension lingered on the periphery. What would they discuss? Would they truly speak up? Just then, another loud crash. This time, it was closer, a storefront sign swinging wildly from a broken chain. The tension in the crowd thickened again. More people rushed past them, adrenaline pumping. "That's not what we need." Jake raised his voice, trying to reach through the chaos. "We can't let this turn into something we can't control." Confusion spread as some in the crowd now debated whether to join the chaos or heed the call for peace. Frustration flared, but Jake remembered the unity he had felt just moments before. "We are more than this. Each of us holds a story. If we truly want change, we need to come together, not pull apart." A few nearby familiar faces, friends from school, stepped closer, drawn by Jake's passion. "He's right," one of them shouted, raising his fist. "We can't let fear divide us." The older men's eyes softened slightly, and Jake sensed they were watching the younger generation with a mixture of apprehension and respect. "Every voice matters," Jake continued, pushing past his fear. "And together, we are loud enough to be heard. Let us take back our momentum. Let us show them we can be more than anger, we can be a voice for change." The words hung thick in the air, a promise waiting to be fulfilled. The crowd, once boiling over with rage, began to stabilize. A few heads nodded, a tentative unity beginning to swell. But even as that flicker of hope spread, the sound of more shattering glass cut through the tension, firm and unyielding. Jake's stomach dropped. "No, not again. Let us go." Mia shouted, grabbing Jake's hand. "We can't let this slip away." They turned to face the chaos again, every heartbeat filled with urgency. Attacks weren't just random, they were cries for attention. Jake felt a wave of determination surge through him. "We'll face this together, Mia. No matter how hard it gets." As they pushed back toward the heart of the chaos, he felt the weight of their mission settle over him. There was no turning back now. They were on the brink of something momentous, and it was either now or never, but what if they couldn't hold on to unity when everything around them threatened to fall apart? That question loomed over Jake as he stepped into the chaos, his heart beating for change despite the fear clawing at the edges of his resolve. The chaos unfurled like a storm, angry stomps almost drowning out Jake's racing thoughts. He felt the ground shake beneath him as he stood reshaping the future before them. Everyone here pulled together even as their struggles loomed large. His heart pounded in rhythm with the flaring emotions, determined to reshape despair into action. Enough! He cried out again, cutting through the noise, his voice echoing. This isn't the answer. We are better than this. His words rang clear and true, each one infused with urgency. He pushed through the mass of emotions swirling around him, searching for familiar faces, finding them in the crowd, uncertain yet hopeful. Mia stood beside him, fearless and ready. People want to express their frustration. She shouted, joining in, amplifying his message. But let us channel that into real solutions. Come on. She stepped forward, her energy igniting something in the onlookers. He could feel their hearts drawing closer, fueled by shared passion. Jake held his breath, but something shifted. The tide of anger he sensed began to waver, replaced by a collective yearning for peace. Anyone can break something, he called louder. But it takes real courage to build something new. The faces around him softened. Hesitation mixed with understanding. They were tired too. Together, he said, voice steady. Let us gather at the community center tonight. We've got to share our hopes and dreams, but more than that, we need to listen. It's our town. The crowd murmured, threads of curiosity weaving through the unease. One older man lowered his fists, a troubled look settling on his brow. We're just angry, not sure what to do. His voice trembled, weariness laced with genuine worry. I get it, Jake responded, empathy pouring through him. We feel the pressure, but we can't lose this fight. We can talk, rather than get lost in rage. Let us gather as one. Ideas are stronger than anger. We are more than our fears. Cheering sprouted steadily, rejuvenating the crowd. People began to nod, the passion he saw reflected in their eyes mounted like a furnace ablaze with possibility. Okay. The man said finally, voice wavering but firm. We'll join you. But it needs to be safe, no violence. A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd, lifting Jake's spirits. A forum for real talk, no interruptions. That's what we're building. As a renewed rhythm settled in, the shadows of anger began to lift, bringing back clarity. But even as relief washed over them, a loud crash fractured the stillness yet again, the sound slicing through hope like a knife. Heads turned, tension spread anew. What was that? Mia gasped, clutching her phone, ready to dial for help. Stay close. Jake said, heart racing, pushing beneath the swirling frenzy. Whatever's happening, we won't let it derail our moment. He charged forward with Mia's small hand clutched firmly in his own, determined to lead them through it. Fear morphed into a challenge, his heartbeat quickened, a pulse of possibility thrumming in his veins as they edged toward the flashing chaos ahead. The crowd split, revealing the broken remnants of shattered glass, but more importantly, figures from both sides confronting each other, the old versus the young, those rooted in tradition against those striving for change. Stop. Jake's voice broke through again, rallying stragglers into those committed to dialogue. This leads nowhere. He felt limits tightening, they couldn't go back. Shout what matters to you. Where does your heart lead? The words resonated, motions freezing as the younger protests turned to curious glances. Every moment, tension shifted closer to understanding, and Jake could see it begin to sprout. But another voice rumbled from the shadow, a man who had been quiet until now. And who among you will actually listen? He questioned. The room fell silent. I will. Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding, holding everyone's gaze. I'm here because I want to understand. We want to hear each other, we need to hear each other. Murmurs exploded across the crowd, gaining momentum, the ripples growing, hope rising stronger than the crashing waves of fear. And with that, they finally took a step towards the future, their connection binding them all together, the fire of potential igniting in the air around them. That's when Mia smiled, radiant with a confidence that reflected the resolve swirling through them. We can be the change. As voices raised in solidarity, Jake beamed at her. This was their moment. They held the reins, every voice rising in chorus, a promise of something better. Jake knew in that moment they would face whatever storm came next together, arms linked, hearts united. They wouldn't let fear steal their dreams. Together, they were a force. Join us tonight. Jake called out, breathless excitement vibrating within. And as hands rose high, he felt the world shift underneath them, one voice building atop the other, solidifying into something unstoppable. This was more than a fight, this was a family, a community rising from the ashes. They were reclaiming their stories, their dreams finally taking flight. Now is the time for change. Don't wait a single second longer. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to lift one another up.